evening, and welcome to the 7 p.m. Monday night beginners yoga class here at the Healthy Yoga Center in Seattle, Washington. Rather warm evening here in Seattle, nice day. I spent most of it inside of my house, just sorting through things and getting rid of things, doing kind of a purge of my son's clothing. So I'm ready to move my body more intentionally because I was kind of caught up in what I was doing all day. So I think tonight, if you have one of these balls, which I think a lot of our viewers now do, you could have that ready, and perhaps a tennis ball. I think we should roll our feet out. And then if you have some kind of a strap at home, we have these yoga straps and that could work. Or if you have one of these, this is a resistance band. I just wanted to start out by doing a little breathing with a resistance band or a strap tied around our chest so that we have a little resistance and we can feel the breath all the way around the chest. So if you want to gather those things, but we'll start in a seated position. I'm going to sit on my block, and you may wish to sit up on something too. You could sit up on a cushion if you're at home, or you could sit in a chair with a firm seat if sitting on the floor is difficult for you. So let's just start by kind of grounding ourselves and finding our seat and our breath. So allowing your seat to be heavy on whatever surface you've chosen to sit on. You might kind of move around a little bit, just feeling into your seat and into sort of a even sitting position. If you tend to sit over to one side or the other, kind of evening that out, letting your spine rise up out of the heaviness of your lower body. And bringing your head so it's balanced on top of your shoulders, the chest is open, the shoulders are starting to relax away, just naturally dropping down away from the ears, not forcing, but just letting it be easy. And then finding a breath in and out through the nose. So feeling the breath coming in and out, starting to bring yourself into the awareness of the breath. Especially if you haven't been paying attention to it today, just being curious about your breath. What does it feel like in your body? And maybe you'll notice that your inhale or exhale feels a little bit more constricted or difficult, or maybe it feels very even and smooth. You might notice places where you feel a little bit of resistance or tightness, so just starting to let some of that melt away, if possible. And then just see, you could close your eyes, or you could bring yourself into a soft gaze ahead of you, just for focus, and just see if you can really feel the breath in this kind of 360-degree way around your rib cage. So you're feeling it, not only are you feeling it in the front of your body, but you're feeling it in the sides and around in the back. You're feeling how your breath comes in and the ribcage expands with the breath and contracts a little bit as you exhale. And if you haven't been paying attention to this sensation, it takes a minute to start to really feel it. So don't be hard on yourself if it's difficult to breathe more consciously. Just allow yourself to kind of slowly come into the experience of your breath. I think sometimes we feel like we're supposed to breathe a certain way, or we're not good enough at breathing, or we're kind of hard on ourselves in some way about it, but maybe relaxing a little bit and accepting the breath as it is to begin with. The good thing about the breath is that it's going to happen as long as you're alive. So you've got that going for you automatically. And then if you have one of those things that I mentioned, a strap like this, or if you have something at home, probably a belt would be a little constricting, but if you have like a bathrobe tie, Or sometimes we have these sitting around from physical therapy or something. This is a resistance band. You could take that and bring it around the back of your rib cage and just kind of loosely tie it around the rib cage so that you can feel it all the way around. And that will help you to feel the rib cage, the movement of the rib cage better as you're breathing. And you might be able to feel every bit of it all the way around as it expands, as your breath comes in and your rib cage expands and contracts. And you might allow the belly to be a part of that as well. So the diaphragm, the respiratory diaphragm, moves up and down with breath. You can even take one hand on your belly as you're doing this and feel the belly moving, expanding as the inhale comes in and the diaphragm moves down and contracting. So just a couple more conscious breaths like this. And so this might help you to be more aware of this kind of 360-degree breathing, what it feels like when your ribcage moves, so that when you're practicing tonight, you have more awareness of that. Let's just take 3 more breaths here like this. I'm just kind of starting to notice the effects of your conscious breathing right now on how you're feeling emotionally. And then if you have that strap around you or that resistance band, you can just take it off, and that feels good to take it off. Just set it aside. I'm going to shut the window because it's a little noisy. And let's come on to our back and have that bigger ball handy. And then I'm going to take the tennis ball and set it over by my mat for use a little later. So taking this ball and bringing it just near you so that you have it handy. And coming onto your back and just finding your breath here. So you'll be able to feel the movement of your rib cage with the breath here on your back. And see if you can kind of tip and tuck your pelvis a little bit so you're kind of tipping the tailbone down towards the floor and then tucking so it's a movement of your lower back. And so you can feel your lumbar spine kind of pressing against the floor and then lifting away from the floor. So you're just moving the pelvis. Try to keep your upper body out of it, rocking a little bit. So it's a tiny cat-cow of your lumbar spine. And then let's take the ball and bring it underneath your lower back, underneath the tailbone, so the tailbone is kind of on the ball. And then do that same thing, tipping and tucking your pelvis. It's a subtle movement, not very dramatic, but feel the muscles that you have to use to make that movement happen. So tipping and tucking the tailbone and the lower back. A couple more times. And then coming back to a kind of a centered place, you can feel your tailbone pressing into the ball. And let's just start with the legs up. And go ahead and just circle your ankles in one direction and in the other. It's fine if your legs aren't straight because your hamstrings feel tight. To bend the knees. And then just draw the knees in towards the chest. You might rock a little side to side. And then with the arms out to the sides, bringing the legs up, heels together, toes slightly apart. Let's inhale the right heel down towards the floor. Just hover it briefly. Press your tailbone into the ball and bring it back up. If you don't have a ball yet, you can do this on the floor. And then we'll inhale left leg down, and exhale back up. Inhale, right heel towards the floor. Exhale, back up. And just moving from side to side like this, thinking about your belly kind of drawing in as it lengthens. Again, feeling your breath. See if you can feel it all the way around your rib cage as you're doing this. A couple more times. If you get tired, just draw your knees in. And then just pause for a moment, drawing the knees in. And then take the ball out and set it off to the side. We'll use the ball later, or again. And this time, lift your right leg up, press the tailbone towards the floor, kind of draw the belly down, and let's inhale that heel down. Just hover it above the floor, lengthening it out. Toes are slightly turned out, upper body stays relaxed. Take a couple breaths here as you lengthen your leg out. Keeping this kind of neutral feeling to the spine, so there's a little space underneath your low back, but you're not totally pressing it towards the floor, or it's not popping up. And then exhale back up. Let's do that 2 more times, a little quicker this time. Inhale, heel towards the floor. Take a breath. Press the tailbone down and exhale back up. 1 more time. Inhale the heel down. Relax your shoulders. And exhale back up. Draw that knee into the chest and just move it a little bit around in the socket of your hip, your femur bone, circling. And then bring the right foot down, arms out to the sides, left foot up, toes turn out, and we'll inhale the left heel down towards the floor, just hovering, breathing, feeling your belly kind of lengthening and drawing down. Relaxing the upper body completely. And then inhale that foot back up. Again, exhale down, or inhale down, I should say. Lengthening the belly, it's contracting and you're holding it together. You're kind of corseted around the middle. And then exhale back up. And then 2 more times, a little faster. Inhaling down, take a breath. Exhale back up. Inhale down. Pause. And exhale back up. And just draw the knee in, circling your knee a little bit so that you're circling around the hip. And then just draw it in for a moment. Draw the other knee in. And bring your feet down. Let's actually bring the arms out to the sides and the feet up. And again, find neutral spine. So the belly's not, your lower back's not really arched. There's a little bit of space, but your belly's drawing down. And then go side to side. So you can feel 1 foot is sliding down the inner ankle. You're keeping your sacrum on the floor, and you're moving slowly and with intention, so you're not swinging the legs. You're moving with the strength of your belly muscles and your lower back. It's kind of feeling the muscles of the obliques on the sides of your torso are helping to stop the movement. A couple more times. And then draw the knees in again. Breathing. And then you take the ball and put it in between the knees. And just hold it there, squeezing the knees, arms out to the sides. Just lift the soles of the feet off the floor. Try not to let your belly pop up, so keep that engagement. And let your knees go side to side really slowly. Try to relax your neck. Just going side to side. If you want a little bit more, you could extend the top leg as you come over. It's just a little more. twice more to each side. And maybe on the second time you could hold it briefly. Squeezing the ball. You don't have to come all the way over, just come to the point where you feel like you can hold it without losing your kind of the neutral spine. And then back to center. And bring your feet down and just lift up slowly into bridge pose, squeezing the ball as you come up. And just pause there, maybe some glute engagement. If you lift your toes and kind of press your heels away from you, it wakes up the hamstrings, and lift a little higher, and then just really slowly rolling your vertebrae down, one bone at a time if you can. So use the muscles that surround the spine in the front and back to kind of control that. And then take the ball again and set it off to the side. Making your feet wide, the width, a little wider than your hips. Let the knees go side to side slowly. Move really slowly. You can kind of, when your knees come over to the left and come all the way down, then you could pick up the right knee first and see how far you can get it up before you have to pick up the left knee. And when you come over to the right, let the knees come all the way down as far as you can comfortably. Then pick up your left knee, keeping the right knee down as long as you can, and then one more time through like that. Knees over to the left, all the way down. You might pause there, maybe pick up your left ankle and put it on top of the right knee. Take some nice deep breaths, and then release that, and pick up your right knee first, keeping the left knee down until it has to come up, and then the feet come over towards the right, or the knees do, dropping the knees to the right, maybe picking up your right ankle and putting it on top of your left knee. Breathing. Giving that big stretch around the hip, the front of the hip, side of your torso. Maybe the IT band a bit. And then taking that ankle off if you've got it there. And then bring your knees over towards the left again. And let your whole body come over. So bring your right arm over. And bring your right hand to the floor to push you up. And you'll come up and you'll be in a little bit of a twist. So an easy twist, not too much twist in the lower back. Keeping your shoulders, again, kind of relaxed. It's kind of easy to let them hunch up. It's okay to look down, but just try not to let your head drop. And then using that right hand to support you, again, tuck the left arm under and come back through that movement, bringing your knees over to the right. Then bring your left arm over and use your left arm to help push you up to come into the twist. Just an easy twist. Taking a couple breaths. And then you could tuck the right arm under to come back the way you came in, and draw the knees into the chest. Rocking a little bit from side to side, bringing your feet down. Let's roll up and down and bridge a couple more times before we come up. So this time maybe bring the palms of your hands down to the floor, and as you lift your hips up, bring the arms up over your head, bring the backs of your hands to the floor. Keep a little of that curve under the neck, so untuck your chin a bit, lift a little higher, and then slowly roll down as you bring your arms down. Controlling the movement. Do that again, one more time. Lifting the hips and the arms. Breathing. Feeling your strong legs. And then slowly rolling down, one vertebrae at a time. Bringing the hands back down. Draw the knees in. And then rock onto your side. And we will come up to hands and knees. So come to hands and knees, spread your hands underneath your shoulders and find your tabletop position. So kind of wrapping the elbows in, the back of the head lifted, and then start some cat-cow. So rounding the spine, let your head drop, lift your belly, exhale, inhale, tip. Just kind of moving through with the breath. Cat and cow. And just another time through. Coming back to tabletop. This time, as you round your spine, let your hips come. I'm going to move my knees back a little. I'm going to tuck my toes just to stretch the bottoms of my feet. Let your hips come back towards your heels. And then moving forward and back into cow. So rounding and drawing the hips back. And coming forward and then into the cow stretch. One more time through. Round and draw the heels back, hips back towards the heels. Rounding forward and then coming into the arch of the back into cow. Untuck your toes. And then make some circles with the hips. Circling in one direction. You can make the circles as big as you want, or you could make them smaller with just the lower back and hips. And then switching directions. And just coming back to your hands and knees. And then let's step the left foot back, tuck your toes. And maybe rock a little bit into the back of the leg, feeling into the calf. You might press into that if it feels okay. Lift the belly, keep the head lifted, breathing. And then maybe that foot reaches back, lifting your foot off the floor. And you might reach your left arm forward. If you want more, you could lift the top of your left foot off the floor a little bit. Makes it a little bit less stable. Don't forget to breathe. Find your gaze, your steady gaze, and your steady breath. Drawing the belly in, release that, and circling the hips again. And coming back to center. Reach back through the left foot, tucking your toes and just rocking a little into the heel, into the ankle joint, the back of the lower leg. Just keeping the back of the head lifted. And then maybe pause and hold it for a breath or two, lifting the belly. And let that foot come up. Drawing the belly up and in, maybe the right arm comes forward, the thumb pointing up. You might lift the top of the right foot off the floor. Pressing back through the heel of your left foot, so you're flexing the foot. Find your steady breath. This is called tiger pose or bird dog. And release it. And just circle your hips again, making the circles as big as you want. And then back to your hands and knees. Take your left forearm down. And then take the right arm out to the side. So you're you could be on your fingertips. And then from there, or just on the palm of the hand, try without lifting this right hip. So you're not going to do this. yet. You're just going to lift your knee up as far as you can without lifting the hip. And then let it slowly come down. Let's do like 5 of those. So you'll feel the end range of motion, and you can kind of pause there. So you're just opening the hip as far as you can without lifting the right hip. And take a moment, pause, and then we'll lift the knee up to that point, and then this time we'll lift the hip up. So it'll feel like you have more movement there. Bringing it back down, lifting it up and opening up the hip, bringing it back down. Do 5 of those as well, if you can. Again, you'll feel kind of the place where the movement stops, so just pause there and feel that contraction. And that is 5, so pause for a moment. You could reach your arms forward, lengthening your spine, kind of wrapping your elbows in, feeling the middle of your back, widening, broadening. And then we'll come back up. I'm going to turn this way. We'll come back up and come into that same position on the other side. So the right forearm is down, left hand out to the side. And so feel how the hips are, the sacrum is staying level, and you're just going to lift that knee up. And it might feel really different on this side. You're going to lift it up as far as you can without lifting that side of the hip. And just kind of pause when you lift it up. For me, this side is harder and it isn't as comfortable as the other side. And then pause for a moment, and then we'll lift it and lift that side of the hip. So this time, lift the knee, and then open the hip, and bring it back down. So we'll do that 5 times. I like to flex my foot, so lift it as high as you can, and then open the hip, and bring it back down. And 2 more. Draw your belly in. Keep breathing as you do this. You can turn and look, or just keep looking at the floor. Try to keep the neck long though. And just pause there. Let your arms come forward. And just take a moment, find your breath. Walking your hands over towards the left, keep drawing your right hip back. Lengthening your spine, feeling the separation of your rib cage on the right from the pelvis. Walking your hands over towards the right, keep drawing your left hip back. Doing belly, breathing. Feeling this nice length in the left side of your torso, and then hands back to center. See if you could bring your elbows down, and maybe you could walk them forward, maybe press your fingertips together and stretch into the middle of your back, feeling your triceps kind of stretching. I like to press my fingertips together and my palms apart, and then release that. And let's get the tennis ball. Hopefully you have one. We'll just roll our feet out for a moment. So, can't tell if there's somebody watching or not. Oh, is it Matt? Take the ball, put it underneath your foot, and just start to press and release the foot into the tennis ball. Matt, if you are watching, yes, I want to have coffee with you this week. So just moving down the outer edge of your foot, using the tennis ball to get a little foot massage. Rolling out the bottom of your foot, Keep pressing and releasing, coming into the heel, and then up into the arch of your foot, maybe staying there for a moment. Pressing and releasing, feeling into the inner edge of the foot, working your way back up the sole of the foot to the ball of the foot, like maybe you're gonna spread your toes around the ball. And then we'll switch sides. So bringing the ball into the left foot and pressing and releasing. Giving yourself a little self-massage. Moving down into the arch of the foot. It's good to have some balls around your house that you can use for these purposes. So a tennis ball works really well, and the small basketball is great. And then some people like to use lacrosse balls. I personally find them to be too hard. My body kind of tenses up a little too much with a lacrosse ball, but some people like them. And golf balls, not really good for my feet. They're too hard. I like the tennis ball because it's kind of a nice amount of stiffness and resistance, and you can squish into it. So just making your way around the sole of the opposite foot. And that feels really good. And then just setting that ball off to the side. I'm going to set my glasses down. And come to the front of your mat, if you're using a mat, or just come to the place where you're going to stand. This motion where you let your palms open and you kind of lift the chest, called the chiropractors call this the Brugger's maneuver. So come into this position, like with the palms of your hands facing forward, opening your chest, finding a neutral spine so you're grounding through your sacrum, lifting up through pubic bone and through the sternum, through the crown of the head. There's one more breath there, and then bring the hands together at the heart. Feeling your feet on the floor, letting your feet be really soft and sensitive to the floor, to the surface you're standing on, so that you can feel all of the different parts of the sole of the foot. Lengthening the arms up and reaching up. Keeping that same sensation of grounding through the sacrum and lifting up through the pubic bone and through the sternum. Finding your breath. So if you haven't had your arms up above your head today, it might feel kind of intense to stay there. So just take a couple breaths. I'm not trying to be in any terrible discomfort. You can always bring your arms forward a little bit. And then coming forward with this long spine with a big hinge of the hips. You could bend your knees a little bit. Your feet are about hip width. So coming forward until you feel like you're going to have to round to get further down. And back off of that. Just stay with this long neutral spine. You can always bend the knees more if you need to. Just letting the backs of the legs slowly adjust to being in the forward bend with this long neutral spine. So your tailbone is lifting and your head and shoulders are staying lifted. They're not rounding forward. Finding your breath. And then with this same motion, coming back up slowly, sweeping your arms out to the sides and lifting up. So you're coming up and down with this long plane of your upper body. Let's go one more time. Exhale, come forward, keeping the knees bent as much as you need to. Bring your hands, lift to your thighs, or coming slowly forward, finding this long neutral spine so the tail stays lifted. When you start to feel that rounding happening, back off. Only coming so far forward as you can keep the head and shoulders lifted and the tail lifted. I'm not trying to strain the backs of our legs, just finding a comfortable place and then breathing. And then from here, let's step your left foot back, bringing the knee down, coming up, squaring your hips. And so the weight of your body is over the left knee. Sweep your arms up, lifting the gaze. Again, keeping this neutral pelvis. And then go ahead and bring the arms down and walk that foot forward a bit, bringing maybe the hands to the knee, keeping lifted here, and not really dropping into it. We're kind of slowly moving into it as we continue to lengthen up. Let your shoulders be relaxed. Lots of strength in the center of your body to hold you up, maybe a little in the left glutes to kind of counter this stretch in the front so you're not dumping into your hip. And then bringing your left hand down by your right foot, it could be onto a block or onto the fingertips, and just opening up into the twist. Or maybe the hand is on the floor. You're drawing this right hip back as you open your chest. The right knee kind of wants to fall out, so let it fall out for a minute, and then kind of press your foot back into the floor. So there's a little strength happening here to keep the leg in that position. Just another breath. If you want a little more, you could always reach for your foot, your back foot, maybe drawing the heel in towards the buttock. That might not be accessible to you, that's fine. One more breath, release that. And then draw the hips back and turn the heel, turn the toes up towards the shin. So you're in this half splits kind of position. And you could have blocks under your hands if you have those at home. Or you can also walk your heel forward a little bit, trying not to round to get to this. So if you need something under your hands to lift you up, you're staying with that long spine. That same neutral spine. You can move the hip and the foot a little. You can kind of feel how if you kind of drag your heel back towards you with the toes coming back towards the shin, that wakes up the back of the leg a bit. And then come forward into the lunge and back towards that position again. Using blocks or books under your hands if you need to, if you're at home. And then coming back up to the lunge, just moving as consciously as possible. Step that knee in, and let's do that same series of things on the other side. So we'll step the left foot forward, try to do that consciously, and sweep the arms up. So the weight of your body is over the right knee. You're staying with this neutral spine, lifting your gaze, and breathing. And remember how it felt to breathe with that resistance band around your rib cage. So feeling that breath all the way around, expanding the rib cage and contracting. And let your belly move too, breathing. And then bringing the arms down and maybe stepping that foot forward a little bit with the hands on the knee. And a little engagement here as you come forward, so we're not collapsing at all into the hip. We're lifting up, up through the heart, up through the crown of the head. So a very conscious, engaged kind of lunge. Shoulders can stay relaxed, even as your heart is lifting. Breathing, and then we'll bring the right hand down to the floor or to a block perhaps, and we'll come into this twist. So press into the floor and lift up. Again, maybe the knee, the left knee kind of wants to drop out and the sole of the foot opens, so let it happen and then Bring yourself back to having the sole of a foot on the floor consciously. Chest is open. You might reach for your back foot if that's part of your practice. Maybe drawing your heel in towards your buttock for more of a quad stretch. It also allows you to get into the stretch of your shoulder, but only if you can do it comfortably. You can also just take the twist. And then bring that hand down and draw the hips back, coming into that half splits pose, drawing the toes back towards the shin. You can move the hip and the foot a little. Kind of drawing your heel towards you. You'll feel the back of the leg waking up, breathing. And then coming forward into the lunge. And bringing the hips back again and lifting the foot. And then hands to your hips, come up, step that foot in. And come back to your hands and knees. Circle your hips a little. And then tuck your toes, bring the hips back, stretch the bottoms of your feet. Maybe you're moving a little bit. And then lift the hips, keeping the knees bent, coming into your downward facing dog. You can bend into one knee and the other, stretching into the backs of the legs, breathing. Wrapping the elbows in so that you can feel how your shoulder blades can move. It's not about jamming your shoulder blades down the back. It's about being able to have some movement and to control that movement a bit. And then just exhale, come forward into plank pose. So hold plank for a couple of breaths. You can do that with the knees down as well. Takes a little bit of the body weight out of it. Keep lifting the belly, so keeping a neutral spine, keep the back of the head lifted. And then slowly with the elbows by your sides, coming all the way down, coming into Sphinx pose, bringing your forearms to the floor. And keeping the chest open, you could tip your tailbone back down towards your heels, lift the belly to take some of the compression out of your low back, some of that arch of the lower back, and also engaging in your belly to protect the low back from overarching. And also you might feel the muscles around your buttocks and hips working. Nice deep breath. Turning your head and looking back over one shoulder and the other, just feeling into the movement of the neck. And then, actually with your arms here, try keeping your elbows pinned to the floor. Just try turning the forearms. So keep the shoulders right where they are. See if you can bring the backs of the arms down. You might feel your shoulders move a little bit, and then just spin that arm around so the palms come down. So see if you can just move the forearm without moving your shoulders. It's tricky. And then release and just make a little shelf for yourself and rock your hips a little bit from side to side. Let's extend your right arm out to the side a little below the shoulder. Bring your left hand to the floor and press in. And bring your left foot back. And just you can just tap your toe on the floor, or maybe you can roll over more and bring the sole of the foot to the floor. Some people call this open wing pose. Some people like to bring the other hand back and clasp hands. I am not one of those people. We're not trying to overstretch here. So coming back onto your belly and extend the left arm, keeping the right hand on the floor, and then bring your right leg back, tap your toe, you can stay there. Or maybe bring the sole of the foot to the floor. It's a big stretch of your back of your shoulder, of the front of your left shoulder and chest. Make sure your neck is not in any position that is causing strain, so try to relax your head on the floor if you can. Breathing. And then just rolling back onto the belly, slowly. Bringing the hands back, clasping your hands, and rolling up. Keep the tops of your feet on the floor, so feel all your toenails on the floor to begin with. And then you might roll onto your side. Roll on your left side, so another front of the chest opener. Feeling the shoulder blades, moving, sliding down the back of your rib cage. Again, you're not jamming them, they're just moving. You have some control. Rolling back onto your belly, and over onto your right side. Nice deep breath. And then back slowly onto the belly. Again, all 10 toes on the floor, lifting up, and then release. And just rocking your hips a little bit. My feet kind of want to cramp, so I'm tucking my toes under. And then bring the hands underneath your shoulders, tuck your elbows in, and press back up. Maybe coming through prayer, and then up into your downward facing dog. So it's okay to have your heels lifted and your knees bent as much as you need to here to be able to lift the hips and feel the movement of the shoulders, how you can kind of push back and get out of your shoulders. Watching for the head dropping. Instead, keep the neck kind of long and neutral. If you drop your head, it tends to change your breath and make it a little harder to breathe. So keeping the neck long. We'll step the right foot forward. This time, let's keep the back knee lifted and come up. Bring your hands to your hips. So squaring your hips, and then we'll just do some dips. Dipping the back knee down and coming up. So keeping your upper body straight up and down, using the strength of your legs to do this. Keeping that neutral position of your spine. Maybe dip down, come a little lower, and then back up. Straightening your legs, perhaps. And then coming down, bringing the knee down. And let's step back to downward dog. Taking a breath, you can have your knees bent, heels lifted, or maybe you're moving your heels down towards the floor, you're straightening your legs, just whatever your body feels good with. You might step your right foot back up and over the left, bringing the sole of the right foot to the floor, lifting your right hip away from your rib cage, breathing, continuing to feel both hands spreading firmly on the floor. Stepping back through center, your left foot over the right, bringing the sole of the left foot down, maybe the right heel lifts. Left hip is lifting away from the rib cage, lengthening through the waistline, pressing through your hands, stepping back to center. And then we'll step the left foot forward, keeping the right knee lifted this time, like we did on the other side. But bending that knee, and then we'll do some dips. Just like we did. Use your glutes also. Straight up and down. Watch for the shoulders to kind of round forward. Just keep them neutral. And maybe the next time, just dipping down and pause. And then come all the way up, maybe straighten the legs. back heel's lifted, and then all the way down. Bring the knee down. And let's step back to downward dog again. So you could try here just a three-limbed dog. You could bring your right hand up and back onto the sacrum, maybe kind of opening up the right shoulder. Press into your left hand and wrap that elbow in. Watch for your neck to do funny things. Just keep it long and relaxed. Bring your right hand back down. Left hand lifts up onto the sacrum. Your buttock lifting your left shoulder as you wrap your right elbow in. Pressing into the right hand. And bring that hand back down. Let's come forward into plank again. Again, you can bring your knees down. Keep the head lifted. So you can stay here or bring your knees down. Watch for the head to drop. Just pause in your plank. Again, coming with the elbows by the sides all the way down. Bringing your forearms forward. And kind of feel the stretch in the belly. So you're kind of almost like dragging your belly forward and lifting your heart. Feeling that stretch in the belly. Maybe there's a bit of lift also so that you're not crunching into your low back. Feeling the breath all the way around the rib cage in this Sphinx pose. Walk your hands forward a little. And then a little more. Maybe bring the hands together and walk your elbows forward, pressing your fingertips together. Let your head relax. Feeling that broadening in the middle of your back. Also a little stretch underneath your arms, so like in the triceps. And then release that. And let's roll onto the back here. And bring your arms out to the sides. Just take a moment. I'm just thinking. And then let's roll. You could pick up your right foot. Let's roll over. Bring your arm over. And we'll roll onto the left arm. So set it up so that your neck is okay here. You might need a block under your head or a pillow. Maybe the right arm comes down by your side and the shoulder comes into the elbow. So we're not trying to strain anything here. I need a block under my head. So if you have a pillow at home or something to support the head, please take the time to get it. And then take a few breaths. Feeling into the back of the left shoulder. Kind of the opposite of that other pose we did that I said was called open wing. Some people call it broken wing, but I don't like that. And then roll back onto your back. And open up again, and then we'll bend your left knee. Turn over onto the right shoulder, bringing your left hand over. And you'll come to lie on your right shoulder. Bringing your left arm down by your side so the shoulder comes into the elbow. And breathing. We call this pancake pose here at the Hatha Yoga Center. You're kind of flattening your body down to the floor. Feeling your breath, and then rolling back, over and opening up. And draw the knees in towards the chest, rocking a little bit from side to side. And then maybe a couple of these, just rolling up. You could lift your hips up as you come back, just rolling on your spine. Kind of trying to control the movement a bit with your core muscles. Maybe suspending a little bit in either direction. Maybe kind of in this boat pose. And in this plow pose. One more time. Just being careful with the neck. And then coming up into this boat pose, you can hold on to the backs of the legs. So coming onto the sit bones, maybe lifting the arms off, letting go of the legs, or keeping them there, either way. Keeping the shoulders kind of rolling back. And bring your feet down and your knees apart and come into this, we call this tortoise pose. You could round forward, round the upper back. Intentionally, maybe lift your belly. Let your knees drop open. And then coming back up, let's keep your left leg bent. I'm going to actually take my mat out of the way. So keep your left leg forward and swinging your right leg back. So you're coming into pigeon pose. And then kind of notice where the hips are, sort of squaring yourself. Your left knee is off to the side. You feel that stretch in the back of the hip. And then just moving forward towards the floor, maybe coming to the forearms. Keeping the same long neutral spine, so your lower back is in a neutral position, meaning it's not rounding. So the tailbone's lifting, head and shoulders stay lifted. So we're not dropping, staying neutral. Feeling the breath all the way around the ribcage. You might be able to come all the way down, or you might stay on your forearms. Wherever you are, taking a couple of breaths. And then walking the hands back in, lean to the left, bring your right knee into the sole of your left foot again. Coming back to that twist we did earlier, just a gentle twist. So again, we're not crunching into the shoulders, just be conscious of your spine. And then continue to bring the right leg forward, perhaps all the way around to the other side of your left leg. And then sitting up tall. So if you get to the point where you can't bring the right sit bone any further towards the floor, just extend your left leg and sit up tall. And then you might take the left hand underneath your right leg and take the twist. So you're just turning. Your left leg stays active, so press through the heel, draw the toes back towards the shin. If your leg is extended, you might have your left knee bent. And then slowly unwinding. Let's step the right foot on the inside of the left leg and let your right knee open. So the sole of the right foot is in the left thigh. You might want your strap for this that you had at the beginning. And if you want your strap, you could use it around the sole of the foot. In any case, we are once again not coming forward with the head, but we're coming forward with this long plane of our upper body in this position, this neutral position. Just finding your gaze and feeling the breath. Letting your right knee drop open. So if you need to support that, if if it feels awkward because it's lifted away from the floor and you need to support it, so that you can really let it open. I'm just taking another breath here. And then we will walk our hands back up and take a twist, bringing your left hand to your right knee, turning your spine. Keeping the head lengthening up and turning back forward. Now, we're going to stay right here and bring the left leg back. So we're in pigeon now on the other side. So again, kind of feeling where your hips are in space. It's easy to kind of lean off to one side or the other. And just try to avoid that, keeping those centered, coming forward. And bringing yourself down again with this long plane of your upper body staying neutral. So the head and shoulders stay lifted, tailbone stays lifting. Feeling the stretch in the back of your hip on the right side. You might feel it on the outside of your right thigh, maybe your inner thigh. Taking some breaths, nice deep breaths. And then walking the hands back in. Lean to your right, bring your left knee into the sole of the right foot and turn a little bit into the twist. Again, feeling that sensation of the breath all the way around the rib cage. Conscious breathing. And then we'll continue to bring the left leg around. Perhaps straightening the right leg, or keeping the knee bent. Sitting up tall, bring your right hand underneath the left leg and turn into the twist. Keeping the crown of the head lengthening up. Shoulders are relaxing down. Chest is staying open. And you're just turning the spine and breathing. Feeling the resistance and breathing into it. Maybe your gaze is lifted. And then turning back. And we'll step this foot on the inside of the right thigh. So the sole of your left foot comes to the inside. And then we're coming forward. Maybe with a strap. Again, keeping head and shoulders lifted rather than trying to get down into the pose by dropping your head. That's just kind of making it hard to breathe. What we're really doing is folding forward with our long spine. Just another breath there. And then coming back up, we'll bring the right hand to the left knee, turning into the twist. And then turning and opening back into your, into this position. And then bring your right foot in. So now you're, instead of tortoise where your feet are forward, bring them in closer to your body and sit up tall. Let your knees open. You could bring your hands underneath the feet. So see if you can kind of relax your knees towards the floor, letting gravity help to drop the knees towards the floor and open the front of the hips. Here, your arms are a little bit pressed into the rib cage. You can feel the breath. And then maybe release the feet, maybe walking forward, maybe allow yourself to round. Allow your head to come forward. as if you were going to bring it towards your feet. So you're intentionally rounding. Letting the knees drop towards the floor, and then walking the hands back in. And let's extend the legs, bringing your hands back behind you, turning your fingertips back away from you, and let your legs flop a little bit in and out, so you're feeling your femur bones rotating in the hips and the pelvis. You might clasp your hands. See, if this is really uncomfortable, don't do it, but you could try bringing the palms of the hands to the floor to stretch the wrists and open the chest. Might be too much. Where I feel it is in my forearms. If it's too much, just instead kind of turn the hands, fingertips towards each other. And do that. And then see if you can come into a forward bend. I like to kind of pull some of the flesh of my buttocks out from underneath my sit bones, reach for my feet. And you could use a strap to do that as well. Again, keeping head and shoulders lifted as I come forward. And releasing that. And then bringing the arms forward. Let's roll slowly back onto our back. And stretch, reach your arms up and over. And take your ball for this last couple of moments. Let's take the big ball and bring it behind your upper back, supporting your head, lifting the hips, coming into that bridge pose where we have the ball in our upper back, and just kind of stay there, feeling it pressing into the shoulders. So you're in bridge. So you're using your strong legs to help lift you up, and also allowing your upper body to relax into the ball. Feeling the breath, and then maybe doing a little bit of rolling for just a couple of minutes before we bring ourselves into our final resting pose. So that might feel good to get into the sides of your torso, underneath the arm, the lats, and around the shoulder. And coming to the other side. Stay with your breath, with your conscious breath. And possibly bring the ball lower. Lots of ways to get into your different spots. Maybe picking the ball up and bring it underneath one hip. And rolling around. Into the rotators and into the back of your buttock, the glutes, and the lower back, and then over to the other side. Feeling kind of the reality of your physical body as it's pressing into the ball. It's so reliable, your physical body, in this way that it's weighty and it's heavy and it's solid, and it's always there with you. You might experience discomfort and pain and things like that, but your body is always right there with you. Sometimes in a way that we emotionally detach, or we feel kind of uncertain about our emotions. Sometimes our body can be good place to go because it's very tangible. And then you might come down off the ball if you're rolling around in your rotators and come back onto your back. Bring the ball under your head and neck and just allow yourself to roll your head from side to side, pressing into the back of the head and the neck. And just starting to feel like you're moving into corpse pose, taking the ball out, setting it off to the side, bringing your arms down by your sides, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your body on the floor, coming back to your heavy, reliable body and breath. I'm going to come up to a seated position, but stay on your back for a few moments in corpse pose. Just feeling the effects of this practice this evening, or if you're doing it later, this morning or afternoon, just feeling the effects of this conscious movement of our bodies and our breath. Feeling the weight of your body. Excuse me, sleepy. Feeling heavy on the floor. Letting the back of the rib cage really surrender and relax against the floor. So there's no sense that your rib cage is lifted away from the floor. Let it be very heavy. And just a couple more breaths. If your eyes are closed, just feeling the breath coming in and out through your nose, or maybe your eyes are open but you have a soft gaze. Relaxing the jaw. And when you come back up to your seat, just bringing this nice, relaxed body with you. Feeling the good feeling of all of the different kinds of chemicals and things that your body does when it's relaxed. There's kind of a sense of like maybe the endorphins or whatever make you feel kind of drowsy and happy and comfortable. Coming back to your seat when you're ready, finding your seat, the heaviness of your seat and the length in your spine. Lifting up through the crown of the head and finding your breath again. Taking some balanced breaths here in your seated position. Maybe the eyes are closed, maybe they're open and you have a soft gaze. And just take a moment to let all of any residual stress just kind of drop away from your physical body, to exit the inside of your body via the breath, just letting go of any residual resistance or tension. And then you might bring your hands together at your heart, and you could bow your head to your own practice, your own inner teacher, your higher self or your higher power. Namaste, and thank you for joining in and for supporting the Hatha Yoga Center in the ways that you do, with purchasing classes or making donations on our Facebook page or on our website. We're glad to be here with you through this time. Namaste.